Them really need to.
15. Four, 3, 2, 1.
Coming up on the November 14th edition of Sports Extra, the boys are back in town. Get excited, Hoops fans. Men's basketball tipped off its regular season with 2 impressive blowouts.
The Rams were silenced Thursday night as Duke football stifled Carolina and took back the victory bell.
And it's not March, but there's plenty of tournament madness taking place across Carolina athletics. Can you say Trace Acero? All that and much more. Sports Extra starts
right now.
From the University of North Carolina School of Media and Journalism, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics. This is Sports Extra.
There has been a disturbance in the force for several months, but all is well. Men's basketball has returned with 2 stellar opening games. Good evening, I'm Peyton Walker.
And I'm Rivers Upchurch. We can't say the same for football following that disaster in Durham, but wow, women's Olympic sports teams are straight up killing it. The 6th-ranked men's basketball team finally opened its season Friday in New Orleans, and the Heels rode the green wave all the way to victory. Junior Justin Jackson came out strong, sinking threes like that one, scoring a career-high 27 points. The Carolina defense shutting down Tulane, and Joel Berry proving he's ready to step up and take the charge. There's Jackson again showing off some offensive dominance. Isaiah Hicks keeping UNC's momentum going right here with the slam in the second half. And then Jackson for 3. And Barry off the high pick and roll is going to knock down 2 of his 23 to secure the win. Carolina takes it 95-75. And against Chattanooga on Sunday, it was the Justin Jackson show again. The junior forward able to get it done on both ends of the floor. There he is, yanking the ball away on the drive. Coach Roy is going to be happy with the defense in this one. Here, Luke May is going to jump in the passing lane, and Carolina turns good defense into easy offense. Brandon Robinson with the jam. And then ACC Player of the Week, Joel Berry, had the jumper falling all night, shooting 50% from long range. And then he's going to go all Iceman George Gervin with the old school finger roll. For some style points, Berry finished the game with 18 points, leading the Tar Heels to a 97-57 victory.
So with that dominating performance, Carolina starts 2-0. Let's bring in basketball analyst Brett Thompson to break down what went right and wrong for the Tar Heels to start the season. Brett?
Well, thanks, Peyton. We all knew what to expect from guys like Joel Berry, Kennedy Meeks, and Isaiah Hicks. But I want to talk for a couple of seconds about a couple of guys who showed immediate signs of being big-time contributors that may have flown under the radar. Let's start with All-American freshman Tony Bradley, who I believe can be the most important Carolina freshman since Harrison Barnes. Bradley scored double digits in each of his first 2 games in a Carolina uniform, but it's everything else about his game that I'm impressed with. Bradley's 7'4" wingspan makes him an effective rim protector, and even when he's not blocking shots, he's affecting them cleanly. And with foul-prone starters, that is a huge plus. Bradley also isn't afraid to bang bodies down low and finish through contact. Front court depth was a major concern entering the season, but I think Bradley will relieve some of the uneasiness among Carolina fans. So when UNC announced that Theo Pinson would miss 8 to 12 weeks with a broken foot, questions immediately arose about who could fill the void that the high-energy hustler left behind. Step right on up there, Kenny Williams. The sophomore guard was a highly touted shooter coming into college, and as you can see there, he can still do that just fine. But what Williams brings to this team is hustle, as you can see on that putback. Williams locked down ACC Player of the Year Malcolm Brogdon in a crucial part of the ACC title game last year, and that effort has carried over into this season. Just watch this. He's fearless going after the ball. He's heady with passes like this one to Luke May, and he's quickly establishing himself as a Dean Dome favorite. Theo Pinson might be calling the police to report a stolen identity thanks to number 24. And Williams started the opener against Tulane, but came off the bench against Chattanooga last night. But with a performance like last night's, he could easily find himself back in the starting 5. And while it's hard to nitpick a team that just won its first 2 games by a combined 60 points, stop me if you've heard this one before. I'm concerned about UNC's defensive rebounding. Opponents gobbled up 32 total offensive boards against Carolina in the first 2 games. And while part of this can be attributed to poor shooting percentages, the Heels are prone to falling into the trap of using athleticism to rebound instead of fundamentals. Roy? Watch this play by Tony Bradley. The Mocs miss, and that's not boxing out. That's being out of position. The Mocs corral the loose ball and have a fresh 30 seconds to work with. Mistakes like that will frustrate Coach Williams and potentially cause problems later on in the season. So Carolina will be back in action against Long Beach State tomorrow night at 8 in the Dean Dome. The game will not be televised, but you can watch it online on the ACC Network Extra, or you can tune in this Wednesday and catch the highlights on Carolina Week at 5. Peyton, back to you.
That's basketball analyst Brett Thompson. Thanks, Brett.
The men's team won by 20 and 40 points, averaging a 30-point final cushion. The women's team saw that and said, "What you can do, we also can do." It was the season opener and the first chance to see the team. Sophomores Paris Key and Stephanie Watts got the crowd excited with bucket after bucket after bucket. They combined for 35 points on the night, but it was freshman Olivia Smith who put the cherry on top with this last-second shot. The Heels win by 30, final score 84-54 Carolina. Now, the battle for the victory bell ended in disappointment when Carolina traveled to Duke on Thursday. It was a tale of two halves for the Tar Heels after the offense got off to a strong start. Mitch Trubisky threw for 2 touchdowns on the first 2 possessions of the game. But Duke has a star QB of its own in Daniel Jones, who finished the game with 94 rush yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, keeping the Heels guessing all night long. Fantastic freshman led the Devils past Trubisky, who threw 2 second-half interceptions, with that one sealing the deal. Duke pulls off the upset, 28-27.
I mean, hopefully it's a reality check. I mean, the leaders of our team have to come together. We have to continue to push the guys and continue to stay hungry and win out. That's all we can control. Put this one behind us, learn from it, and just win next games.
For more about what's ahead for the Tar Heels, let's bring in football analyst Paul Beam. Paul, what are Carolina's postseason possibilities?
Well, Rivers, the sky is falling in college football. Carolina lost to Duke, Virginia Tech lost to Georgia Tech, and for the first time since 1985, 3 of the top 5 teams in college football went down. So what does that mean for Carolina? Well, believe it or not, nothing's really changed. Carolina and Virginia Tech still remain at the top of the Coastal Division. Both Miami and Pitt have been eliminated from contention because the Heels and the Hokies defeated both teams. Tech still controls its own destiny, so Carolina fans are going to be rooting for Virginia when the Cavaliers take on Tech on the last weekend of the season. Even though Carolina's hopes of getting back to the ACC championship game are slim, the Heels still have a chance to finish the regular season at a very respectable 9-3. This should put them in a good position to get a bid to a Tier 1 bowl. Carolina has virtually no shot at a New Year's Six bowl unless the Heels do make it to the ACC championship game and knock off either Clemson or Louisville. At this point, that's wishful thinking. So let's assume Virginia Tech wins the Coastal Division. The consensus right now is Carolina would play in the Sun Bowl out in El Paso, Texas, or the Tax Slayer Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida. All that being said, the Heels still have to play 2 more games this season. After that heartbreaking loss at Duke on Thursday, Carolina better refocus because the Heels had the Citadel at home on Saturday. The Citadel is an FCS team ranked 5th in that division and undefeated on the season. The Bulldogs have been virtually unstoppable on the ground, averaging 360 rushing yards and 30 points per game. The Citadel is an option team, and based on how well UNC shut down Georgia Tech in the second half of their matchup, I think UNC rebounds with a fairly close win, 35-27. So Carolina might have lost the game against Duke, but hey, at least I got to have some fun in Durham on Thursday night. Oh yeah, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. This year's first installment of Heels on the Bus.
The Heels traveled the 8 miles down Tobacco Road to take on arch-rival Duke at Wallace-Wade Stadium on a chilly Thursday night. Now, I know what you're thinking. Duke is clearly a basketball school, so why should I care about Duke football? Well, believe it or not, Duke has arguably a better football history than Carolina. From the late 1930s through the mid-1950s, Duke went to 2 Rose Bowls, 2 Orange Bowls, and the 1944 Sugar Bowl, where they knocked off legendary Alabama head coach Frank Thomas, who went on to win 2 national titles for the Tide. I'm sure this news comes as a surprise to some, but probably the most interesting thing about Duke football is the concessions. Duke's concession stands are laid out almost like a fairground, so I guess the only logical thing to do here is to get some food that's featured at the North Carolina State Fair. I stopped in at Hog's Heaven to sample what they call a barbecue parfait. It's a cup with barbecue, baked beans, coleslaw, and hush puppies all mixed together. It looks great, and it tastes great as well. All right, let's get to the game. Carolina got up quick early on Duke.
This time, he's going to rifle it. Caught by Howard at the 5, spins away from his defender, and gets into the end zone.
The band's loving that. So Carolina has this game in the bag, right?
Standing in the pocket, has a ton of time. Now flags come in, and he throws an interception.
Well, I guess there's always next year.
A sad game, guys, but not a total waste of a trip. At least I came away well fed.
Well, no matter what the outcome of the game, Paul, we always love to see what you and the band are up to.
It's football analyst Paul Beam. Thanks, Paul.
You can call them the Taylor Gang.
We'll see how 4 UNC volleyball players share more than just their killer on-court skills.
Ever shotgunned a can of Cheese Whiz?
Well, that does it for this edition of Sports Extra.
Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night.
You know, the good thing about TV news is the viewer can only see the waist up. So from the waist down, pretty much all bets are off around here.
Clear.
Woo! Great show, man.
Nice show, dude. That was awesome.
But lately, the guys and I have been trying to push the boundaries a little bit.
Hey, Gage, can you come take a look at this script?
Sure, buddy. What are we working with here?
Do you think I should say scored a touchdown or threw a touchdown? Brett, can I get a second opinion on this?
Hey, man, what's up?
I just don't know how to word the script, whether to use the word threw or scored for Mitch. Showing way too much skin. I'm like, Susie, this is work, you know? Come on, we have a certain standard here.
Yeah, come on. What is this? The south of France? This is not a nude beach. This is an office. Have some respect for yourself. Totally classless behavior.
Yeah.
Guys, come on, seriously? 3rd time this week.
I rescued Toast from a shelter in 2011. I love Toast because she's a lazy diva. Toast does whatever she wants, obviously. She's sleeping right now. She's an epic snuggler. She's so comforting. She's so loving. Toast makes me laugh. When I walked into the shelter, I knew right then that she was special.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Did you know parking over tall, dry grass can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
The next several game reports are brought to you by the numbers 3 and 0.
As in 3 for the good guys and 0 for their clearly overmatched opponents.
The volleyball team started the trend Friday against Clemson. Julia Scholes didn't waste any time scoring the first set point early in the match. Senior Tatiana Durr got some action with intense kills like this one, and the bench is loving the action there. And with the second set point, Haley McCorkle made shutting down the Tigers look easy. And on match point, Clemson can't even get it over the net. Heels win in the sweep, and the crowd was hyped to see Carolina take the match in 3 short sets. What's that score? 3-0.
The women's soccer team liked the sound of 3-0 and continued the hit parade on Saturday as the Heels put out the Liberty Flames in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Freshman Madison Schultz scored her 3rd game-winning goal in the past 5 games to lead North Carolina to a 3-0 victory. Dorian Bailey made it 2-0 with her 3rd goal of the season with this second effort inside the 18. And in the 70th minute, midfielder Abby Alinsky puts the nail in the coffin to put the Heels up, say it with me, 3-0. Carolina advances to the second round and will host the Kansas Jayhawks on Friday afternoon.
Not to be outdone by their peers, the field hockey players turned in not 1, but 2 dominating 3-0 drubbings in the 8th NCAA tournament. Our John Assetti is live from Francis Henry Stadium to tell us more. John?
Thanks, Peyton. In the first game of the program's 33rd NCAA tournament appearance, the most by any team in the country, the Tar Heels took it to the Stanford Cardinal. Carolina jumped out to an early lead in its 3-0 victory over Stanford in Maryland this weekend. Sophomore Ava Vanterhout delivered the game winner early, just 3.5 minutes in. Ashley Hoffman and Emma Bozick each added goals to help the Heels advance to play Maryland. With help from Aline Everett and Julia Young, Ashley Hoffman scored the first goal from the penalty corner, shooting it into the lower left corner there for her second goal. Lauren Moyer shoots it into the empty cage. Believe it or not, her 22nd goal of the season. Heels win, wait for it, 3-0. This will be the 8th year in a row that Carolina makes it to the semifinals and the 21st UNC appearance in the Final Four. The team will face UConn in Virginia this week in Norfolk, which is about a 3.5-hour drive for any of you who are curious. UConn is coming off of a 3-2 double overtime win over Syracuse, eerily reminiscent of the Tar Heels' own 3-2 double overtime win over the Orange earlier this season. Now, I'm here with senior Blissy DuBose, a defender for the team. Blissy, Maryland's been kind of a Final Four rival for the Tar Heels in the past couple seasons. What does it mean to be able to put them down in the second round this year?
Well, it's always a competitive game whenever we play them. We know that it's going to be tough. We have to work really, really hard, be really aggressive. So it was just so nice to come out so strong. And especially since we've had such an up and down season, we've finally got the mentality that we're not going to give up.
Awesome. And then, I have to ask, with 8 Final Four appearances in a row, but 7 years since you guys last won the title, how is this team trying to change things and avoid that disappointing finish?
I think we're changing our mentality that we're just going to put everything out there and never give up and do our best to everything. So.
And then finally, what would it mean to you personally as a senior who's gone through this kind of, up and down before? What would it mean to finally bring a title back to Chapel Hill?
Honestly, it would be the greatest feeling that I could ever feel. I'm so excited for this weekend. I just wanted to be here so soon because I just want to kill them. I'm so excited. So, it would be awesome because our team deserves it. So.
Awesome. And you heard it here first, guys. Back to you.
Delaware and Princeton will face off in the other tournament semifinal with the winners playing in the championship match at 1 p.m. on Sunday. That was John Assetti with your field hockey update. Thanks, John.
It's good to see my fellow St. Anne's Belfield graduate, Blissy DuBose, on the Carolina field hockey team going to the Final Four. Now, okay, haven't gotten bored by the pattern. Members of the volleyball team came back on Saturday and said, let's make this interesting. We're going to spot Georgia Tech the first 2 sets. No 3-0 beatdown in this one. Let the furious comeback begin. Take a look at this spike by Taylor Borup, sending Carolina to an early 3rd set lead. And here comes Borup again, coming up big with the block to help Carolina take the 3rd set. The Tar Heels tied the match 2-2 with this flying kill from freshman Julia Scholes. UNC had all the momentum in the 5th and final set, and it was Scholes again to complete the comeback from 2 sets down. Heels win their 16th ACC match 3-2. In thrilling fashion. Fans absolutely loved it. This team will be going to the big dance at season's end. Carolina volleyball players, they kill, they block, they dig, they dominate. But 4 in particular are united in a special way, and as Jordan Jackson shows us, you can root for them at the same time.
If you've cheered for UNC volleyball, it's likely too you've witnessed a winning play by Taylor, or Taylor, or Taylor, or Taylor. See a trend? That's because 21% of the team's players share the same name. Luckily, they've come up with a solution.
My nickname's Frick. Tito. I'm Bo.
Well, a solution adopted by all but one.
Some people say, we'll say Taylor Tracy, but I am Taylor on the court.
It's a 4-person clique Borup, the youngest of the group, uses to her advantage.
They've been there for everything that I've needed, so it's really fun to have them.
And it just so happens 3 of the Taylors play right on the front row.
Cunningham off the block. Leaf combining with number 5.
The triple Taylor block is really something that's come along this season. So looking to my left and looking to my right and seeing another Taylor is kind of cool. We've developed a small community bond amongst Taylors.
A bond that's produced some incredible stats. The group's responsible for 58% of all Tar Heel kills in the season and 52% of all blocks. But Tracy adds, being a Taylor doesn't guarantee a starting lineup ticket.
Whenever we go to practice or whenever we're playing games, We always have to be on our A game. We have to be competitive in order to maintain our spot.
Still, though, on this team, Taylor seems to equal talent. But does being one of 4 ever get frustrating?
We all are so different from each other so it's not like that we all share an identity, we just share a name.
So, if you're not sure whom to cheer on the next time you find yourself in Carmichael, go the safe route and root for Taylor. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jordan Jackson, reporting.
The American Volleyball Coaches Association named sophomore Taylor Leith National Player of the Week last week, making her the first Tar Heel in program history to receive the award. Temperatures keep getting lower. Motivation is high for this good cause.
The Eve Carson 5K is back and better than ever. Hundreds running to honor Eve's memory.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
I'm a single mother, and I was the main one working, so I never thought that I could go back to school, you know? My sister, my mother, everybody wanted to help me with my kids. I could not have gotten my diploma without my family.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
Two Greek organizations have been hosting an annual 5K to honor the memory of former student body president Eve Carson, who was murdered 8 years ago. A record-setting number of people signed up for the 9th annual Eve Carson Memorial 5K. There were almost 1,200 runners at Saturday's event. The course runs through campus and ends in front of South Building. The popular event even brings in people from Carson's hometown of Athens, Georgia. Proceeds go to charities benefiting education opportunities for youth, something Carson held close to her heart. Speaking of running a distance beyond my capabilities, the men's and women's cross-country teams concluded their season at the NCAA Southeast Regional on Friday. The Tar Heel men took 12th place and the women finished 14th. Mark Derrick was the top individual finisher. He took 21st place and earned all regional honors.
After a disappointing end to the ACC tournament, the men's soccer team is looking to its German transfer student Niels Bruning for a scoring spark heading into the playoffs. Dario Malave has more.
What's it like to be a standout player in a new country? German native Niels Bruning knows a thing or two about dribbling through that field.
I was never longer away from Germany than, 2 weeks. So that's pretty exciting for me to be here in a new environment, speak another language. But it's great.
Anytime you have an international player, the sport is the same, but the environment's completely different, and he's been great. He's adjusting very nicely.
Bruning's coaches and teammates have seen firsthand the wealth of talent the overseas product has brought to Carolina.
There's not many people that can score 4 goals in a game as he did a few weeks ago, and it wasn't just because of his quality on the ball, it was because of his instinct, and I think instinct is something that you can't really teach.
I think I can be a very important player for the team, also in key moments of the games.
And it's clear the team wants Bruning to play a bigger role in the near future.
He's a very, very special player, and I absolutely love playing with him.
Well, I think he's only going to get better and better. We've barely scratched the surface with him, and the longer he's here, the better he's going to be. And we've seen that already, and I'm excited for his future here.
It looks like there's a budding German star in a new land that's Tar Heel blue. In Chapel Hill, I'm Dario Malave reporting.
Bruning and the team hope he can continue his scoring ways in the NCAA tournament, which kicks off this Thursday. Even after a tough loss in the ACC tournament, the Tar Heels earned a first-round bye and will head into the tournament as a number 9 seed. The Heels will host the winner of South Florida and Florida Gulf Coast in the second round on Sunday at Fetzer Field. P-I-N-G-P-O-N-G.
Not for these students, it's table tennis, thank you. UNC's competitive team is looking to change minds about the importance of this Olympic event.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
I've come up with the family emergency plan.
What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
Me too. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, Brett, what's going on with those wrestling highlights?
You know what? I'm just waiting on the inspiration. I promise I'll get those back to you soon, right?
All right, get to it.
Yeah.
In Asia, table tennis is serious business. But in the U.S., ping pong is more of a pastime.
Jess Allen spoke with members of the UNC Table Tennis Club about how they're trying to change that perception.
UNC Table Tennis has been around for a little more than 3 years. Club founder Stephen Deepy says these students are highly competitive.
Initially, we just started as a group of recreational players who was people who just wanted to play ping pong at the university.
Club members want other UNC students to recognize that table tennis is more than just a hobby. It has been an Olympic sport since 1988. Gloria Liu says the competitions are what motivate the UNC players in practice.
There's so many serious table tennis players, and the tournament environment, which is really competitive and gets you motivated to practice.
The International Table Tennis Federation says the top 5 table tennis players in the world are from China and Japan. The United States didn't even make the top 150 list. Liu hopes the UNC club will give the sport more legitimacy.
Table tennis in the U.S. seems more like a recreational, not a serious sport.
Although this is discouraging, Deepy says recognition for table tennis in the U.S. has grown.
In the U.S. in particular, back about 10 years ago, only 30 schools had ping pong even club teams, and now over 160 have teams competing in the National Collegiate Table Tennis Association.
In March, the UNC women's team won the National Collegiate Table Tennis Association Atlantic Division. DP says the club is growing very quickly and he still invites new players to join if those players are serious about the game. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jess Allen reporting.
All right, Rivers, are you much of a ping pong player?
I'm not really a ping pong player. We actually have a ping pong table at our house, but I don't even think we have paddles. We have plenty of balls and plenty
that
of
is
cups,
key.
though.
Yeah, I'm not much one of either, but might be a good sport. That does it for this edition of Sports Extra.
Thanks for watching. Have a good night.